Hello and welcome to Weekend Winners. Now, before we start, we had the terrible news of the passing of Michael O'Sullivan earlier on this week. I'm being joined by Declan Ricks and Sam Boswell, as always. And Dec, we just wanted to take this moment to really pay tribute to Michael. And if ever there was credit to a person, everything that they've delivered in their life and to people, the love, admiration and respect, the outpourings from everyone this week has been testament to Michael.
Yeah, absolutely, Kate. It's been a pretty hard week now, to be fair. You know, felt in Ireland, Britain, France, you know, maybe around the world, but especially in Ireland. You know, and the grassroots of Irish national hunt racing has been affected here, but not just the grassroots, all the way to the top. Michael's family were part of the backbone of Irish national hunt racing. They were the grassroots. But, you know, he rode for the most decorated Cheltenham festival trainer in history, Willie Mullins, multiple Irish trainer, and, you know, it doesn't get any higher than that. Now, I didn't know Michael personally. I knew him professionally. At the start of the last 3 national hunt seasons at the races, would contact jockeys and get a horse to follow for the season just to whet the appetite. Some jockeys ignored you. Some said they didn't fancy it, but Michael always responded and he always said yes. You know, I found him to be helpful, polite, friendly, and, you know, it just struck me as a guy who'd been raised right by his parents and, you know, to his mother Bernie, his dad. William, you know, I'm very sorry for your loss. You know, his brother Alan, his partner Charlotte, all his friends, his colleagues, you know, the weighing room, and, you know, race fans, you know, across the world. He had plenty of them. I extend those condolences to them. You know, Michael's dad actually won the 1991 Fox Hunters on a horse trained by his uncle Eugene, and I think that's pretty fitting because the great Mikey O'Sullivan was a lovely citizen.
Beautiful, beautiful words, Dec. And Sam, everything that Dec has just said there, we echo completely. And every time we've had any sort of interaction with Michael, you yourself would have done in the professional capacity as well. No one's got anything but incredible things to say about him.
Yeah, I think Declan's summed it up beautifully there, Kate. The only thing I can really add is yesterday I was at Punchestown when Irish racing resumed, and I just want to spare a thought for his colleagues in a work capacity, the jockeys that came out, and there was a beautifully observed minute silence, and, you know, to go back to work so quickly, having lost such an integral member of the weighing room, for them, I think they deserve the utmost praise. The way they've handled themselves has been pretty impressive from the outside looking in, and obviously our thoughts will continue to remain with Mike O'Sullivan's friends and family, but I just felt the jockeys that he rode with every day deserved a real nod of credit for just how well they've conducted themselves in what must be an incredibly challenging time. And, you know, we're all very lucky that they choose to do what they do because it gives us the sport we love, and I felt they deserved a bit of a mention alongside what Declan had said so beautifully.
Definitely so. And if there is anything that racing really does, it pulls together when one of its own in anyone's time of need within this industry. And just for myself, obviously, I'd see him every single day at the Cheltenham Festival, every single year, you know, his tall silhouette with the white hat silk walking down between the chaos of horses and people everywhere every single morning for Cheltenham. And the idea of him not being there this year and not seeing him every single morning, I still can't quite get my head around that. And I remember for Marine Nationale's Supreme win, I saw him in the morning and I was talking to him and saying, oh, how much are you looking forward to today? And I had to apologise to him and I said, oh, I've put the mockers on you, I'm so sorry, I've tipped up Marine. And he just looked at me with this self-assurance that he always had. He was so self-confident. He was never overconfident. He was never arrogant in any way, but he was so self-assured. And he just looked at me with that self-assurance and just said, nope, you're right too. And that was it. And he was completely right. And he rode that horse beautifully that day. And the legacy that he's left behind after that and all of his achievements in such a short space of time, it's going to stand the test of time. He's stamped his place in history. and he is going to be hugely missed. Cheltenham's not going to be the same this year, not seeing him every single morning. So yes, but lovely words from the pair of you two. So thank you so much to that. And as the lads have both said there, all of our thoughts are with Michael's friends, many, many friends, and his family. The first race we're going to preview is the 150 from Kempton. This is the Grade 2 Pendle Novices Chase, 5-year-olds and over 2 mile 4.5 furlongs. Now, trainer Paul Nicholls is chasing a 14th win in the race with Rubold in here, who is the 6-4 market leader, deck.
Yeah, just the 6 runners, Kate. But I think we'd probably have a little bit of pace in here, don't we? I think Rubold will go forward, as will Ashdale Bob, and maybe even Empyrean Saint, who's made the run-in previously. And look, I think at the weights, with him not having to carry a penalty, I think you can see why Rubold is favourite. But while his pedigree on both sides suggests going up in trip is worth a go, he is quite forward going, you know, and it wouldn't be surprised if he just wasn't at his perfect best over the trip. So I'm going to take him on at the prices, and I just thought with the pace on there, Boom Bond could maybe go well at those prices. Now look, he's got to carry a penalty, which will make life tougher, but he's going to love the good ground at Kempton. He's actually going to love getting back to Kempton as well. I think he's run there twice and he's unbeaten there. So, and the race kind of just teased up nicely for him. There's a bit of pace on there. Harry Skelton can take his time and hopefully pounce late. A bit of a pace collapse would really suit. You can see him there. This is his form behind the nice horse of John Joe Neals, which has gone on to Frank the Form big time, and he's got plenty of experience, and I hope that will count for plenty in this novice chase. Good solid jumper, top team, likes Kempton, and the race sets up nicely for him. Tough under a penalty, but I hope he'll go close.
Yeah, like I say, tough under the penalty, but he is, isn't he? He's a really likeable type just in general, and with that jumping at his disposal as well.
Exactly, yeah, he's good and solid.
Definitely so. Good case made by Deck then, Sam. Who do you like?
Yeah, it's an interesting renewal. I'm surprised they haven't named it after Paul Nicholls, as your stat alluded to, Kate, given just how good his record in the race is. And I went round the houses and came back around to Rubold here. I do take Deck's point about going up in trip, but, you know, if he's going to get away with it, I thought Kempton's probably the place that, you know, you'd want to be going up in trip to test the water, if you like. The season so far has been pretty good, aside from the tipping up against Sergino, which I think we can forgive. A couple of wins over hurdles before. Second to Load of Sud last time out at Warwick. And I just feel like this is classic Paul Nicholls placement, isn't it? He's seen an opportunity. He's got a horse more than capable. He escapes the penalty in comparison to a couple of others in here. Ashdale Bob, I'd probably like his chances if he'd had a run. He's coming off the back of 205 days off. And we should mention the ground as well at Kempton. I'm not obviously in the UK at the moment, but from what my sources tell me, you guys haven't had too much rain. I think currently good to soft. I think that'll play into the favourites' hands as well. So an unoriginal pick, but I just think this is classic Paul Nicholls. And Paul looks like he's on the way back, doesn't he? After a quiet kind of little time of things. He obviously last weekend had a couple of winners. So yeah, like I say, it was Rubold for me around what are we, 13 to 8, 11 to 8, anything in and around there. I thought was a fair enough price.
Yeah, it was not long ago that people were writing Paul Nicholls off for the season, wasn't it? And then Pictori came back last weekend and did what he did, much to all three of us' pleasure as well then. So Sam and I both sticking with Paul Nicholls here, with Rubold as well. And for basically all of the reasons that Sam's just mentioned there, where when I first looked at this race and I saw his price and I thought, okay, that's slightly on the skinny side here. Surely I can go around and find something else. But again, as Sam was saying there, full circle, came back to Rubold all the same though, and he is the top rated in here, 149, getting £5 from Ashdale Bob, Boomborn, Mark of Gold as well. Now he just has those 2 chase starts falling on Chase debut in the Grade 2 Wayward Lad Novices Chase at Kempton, behind Sergino and Ballyburn. I mean, he was well adrift when he came down at the last, but that was still a fair challenge for him on Chase debut. Last time out, much better when second of 4 in the Grade 2 Kingmaker, behind Load of Sud, who you won't get too many smarter novice chasers on this side of the Irish Sea anyway. And he gave him a bit of a scare as well, rallying after he just got outpaced at the third last. And the ground was softer than ideal for him that day as well. But I'm expecting the step up in trip, the quicker ground to suit him as well. And we know his Kempton form, apart from obviously that penultimate start, is very, very good, because he's run at the track 6 more times, 8th on stable debut. That was in the Adonis. Then he's been second, first in the Dovecote, first in the listed hurdle, second in the Christmas hurdle behind Constitution Hill, and another first in a listed hurdle on seasonal debut this campaign. So I'm hoping that Kempton form will translate to fences this time as well. Sam and I both with a real bold in here, though. Deck is with Boomborn. Do let us know in the comment section below who you fancy. Right, we're going to move on to the 3:35 now at Kempton. This is the Ladbrokes Trophy Handicap Chase, Premier Handicap. 5-year-olds and over 3 miles. This race has had a fair few different names in its time, but it's got a new one this time around. Now Highland is heading the betting here at 3-1, Deck.
Yeah, an interesting race. I think just the 13 runners in here, but again, probably another race, lads, that has a good bit of pace on. There's a few that like to go forward. I really like Highland and Lowry's Bar as horses and as individuals, but I wouldn't say they're the biggest to be carrying, you know, near top weight and top weight here. They're not over big, although they mostly jump well and good ground will help them. But I don't think the handicapper has missed them either. I'm not sure they're as well handicapped as another novice in the race, and that's Beachcomber for the John Joe and AJ O'Neill team. Now, he bolted up here over Christmas in first-time blinkers over this course and distance, and he just looked at a completely different horse. Now, this is him at the start of the season making his chase debut at Chepstow, and you know, his jumping was okay this day, but there was definitely signs in there that he could make a decent chaser, and his jumping has got an awful lot better. The horse there you can see on the right hand side is Haughty Colour of Rebecca Curtis's, who's a big player in the National Hunt Chase, I think later in this at Cheltenham, and has boosted the form big time. Disappointing this day, to be fair, but he was a big drifter in the market, and I thought he shaped a good bit better than the distance beaten. I think he's overpriced compared to the front two of the market, but there are worries. He did make the run in last time out of Kempton when he won, and there's quite a bit of pace on here. It'd be a surprise if he gets that kind of easy lead again. And obviously he won in first time blinkers, so they'll have to sharpen him up and go again. But he's a likeable horse, clearly likes the track, and he jumps well, so he'll do for me.
It is interesting on the pace angle. We tend to expect a lot of pace on in this race. And again, certainly this year on paper, there does look to be plenty of pace on in this one.
Yeah, and they start, don't they, kind of down the side there, going away from the stands. Those two fences come up quickly, and one of them's kind of on the bend. You see a lot of horses jumping out to the left, but hopefully John Joe O'Neill Jr. can keep them straight. Yeah,
tends to go to horses that are ridden with that little bit more restraint, who don't get involved in that burnout for all that we're talking about. Kempton here, front runner bias track. So I'm wondering what Highland's going to do tactics wise, because we know he stays all day. He's my selection in here, but he is a horse where he does like to be ridden fairly prominently as well. Now we're looking back at him when he won on his chase debut at Southwell last June. This was dropping back in trip for the win as well, and at this point you sort of thought, okay, well, he's dropped back in trip, got back to winning ways. You do just think that these intermediate trips will be seeing him at his best. However, he has been showing those extra bits of stamina as well, and he's another horse for the trends race as well, for the trends stats in here. But he has been running solely over 3 miles in his 3 starts this season, winning the first 2 at Cheltenham, proving himself just as the depth though over this course and distance. Last time out in the Grade 1 Quarto Star Novices was not disgraced there at all, and he is just a much better chaser than a hurdler already. Proven this season he stays all day. Would have been ideal for the National Hunt Novices Chase at the festival, but of course that's a handicap now, as this is. But over this trip, off this mark, I still think he can stay in contention long enough to prove his class. And 3-1, pretty unoriginal from me, Sam, in here, but I'm more than happy to keep Highland on side.
Yeah, I'm going to be equally as unoriginal here, Kate, I think, because I completely agree with you. I'm a big fan of Highland, and I was looking at Nicky Henderson's stats. Obviously, I always associate him with winners at Kempton, but dig a bit deeper, he's obviously managed to pick up quite a few of these handicap-type races because he has so many short price winners, and he's plus 18 to a £1 stake if you backed him blind, 25% strike rate, and it will be races like this that he takes out occasionally that do boost that, rather than Constitution Hill winning at 1-5. A slightly disappointing turnout, and that's what I sort of found hard with the race, to try and oppose him. I don't even think Lowry's Bar will run if it's as dry as is suggested. But yeah, I can see him coming out. Declan's selection, Beachcomber, like the angle, and I do wonder, given this is such a valuable prize with a really good pot, I think it's worth more than some of the festival handicaps. I did wonder if maybe they've waited for this prize, but yeah, I came down on the favourite again. Like I say, I just felt like the ground's going to be in his favour. I know the jukebox man at Kempton dispatched him, easy enough, but he's a horse I have huge regard for, and I do think that kind of getting even near him, I think, is enough to suggest that a mark of 147 is workable in the context of this race. But yeah, it's an original thought, isn't it? But you can see why he's been made favourite here for Nicky Henderson, and I'm expecting another big Saturday win there.
Sam and I in a lot of agreements already then. Rubode first, and now we've got Highland for the pair of us two.
And you're both
Kempton.
with Highland as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Love
So yeah, we'll see how that fares then for Sam and I come Saturday. Again, do let us know in the comment section below who you fancy for that very, very competitive Premier Handicap Chase. Right, we're going to switch up to Newcastle now for the 210. This is the Ida Handicap Chase, 5-year-olds and over 4 Mile 1. This is, of course, the big race at Newcastle, live on Sky Sports Racing. And last year's winner, Angler's Crag, is among the leading contenders in here at 7-1, Sam.
Yeah, finally I'm going to tip something that isn't at the front of the betting, because I do think you can make cases for several in here. We've got the Bet Victor Ambassadors teaming up with Passing Well, who was a good second last time out, and I definitely think a marathon of this kind of contest is well within his wheelhouse. I really liked Gabriel. I've tipped him up in the past as well for Oliver Greenall and Josh Guerrero, and he will again be proven at the trip. But actually, the horse that I came down on was the Irish Raider. I thought it was really intriguing that Bosch de Haver arrives here for John McConnell, who hasn't had a winner for a little while, which is a slight concern. But let's look at the horse's profile. Travelled over at the start of the month to run at Musselburgh in the 3 Mile 7 contest there, and has been left unchanged for finishing second there to Magnus Sam. And I think that's a pretty fair thing from the handicapper to do. I thought he might have got nudged up a little bit. Clearly travels well to the UK, having run a number of times over, having travelled over, which is always a good sign. Was second at Doncaster over 3 miles, and definitely is one for these kind of staying trips. Was running the Banks races at Punchestown, which seem to go on forever. They're 4 mile contests. Is he well handicapped? Well, I think a mark of 124 certainly gives him an opportunity here. It was kind of an each way play. I think, what are we there? 14-1, something like that. I definitely could see Alex Harvey getting a tune out of him, and it's a competitive enough race, but I wanted an each way dart, and that's where my selection came from. I just felt he could possibly go one better than the Musselburgh run.
Yes, and he is a nice price as well. As you say, 14-1 at the time of recording then as well for Bodie Stapfer in there for Sam for an each-way play deck. Are you going each way or are you going for a win bet?
Probably each way, because my horse is a big enough price as well, and that's a Sporting Ace. But Sam's kind of saying we're covering Kempton there on a bit of weather watch as well with Newcastle, because I don't think the quickening ground will really suit this guy. So I just need to see what the jockeys are saying about the ground and how it goes. Although at the same time he is taking a big step up in trip, so maybe that will just kind of slow things down and everything. But Sporting Ace, trained by Neil King, generally quite a consistent horse, but he started the season tamely. But maybe that wasn't a surprise, because I think the Neil King horses were under a cloud at the time. But to be fair, they've come back in great order at the moment. They look to be thriving, and they're clearly in much better form at the moment. And this is him beating Bet Victor brand ambassador Jamie Snowden and Gavin Sheehan last time out at Lingfield in the Surrey National. I actually thought that Jamie's horse had a chance as well, but Gavin rode him this day really wide. Just looked like a horse who needed room, and you won't be able to get away with that kind of ride at Newcastle. So I stumped for Sporting Ace, and I think he will stay. He's the type of horse who will give himself every chance of staying, because he's quite behind the bridle. But what I really love there is when Jack Quinlan got stuck into him, he really stuck his neck out and he found. So he will do for me, as long as it doesn't get too quick up there at Newcastle. But yeah, I thought he was overpriced in what is an incredibly competitive race.
Yeah, 12-1 then, Passing Well, who we've just been seeing there, at 8-1 as well. So a bit of a disparity, considering you look back at that form and there's really very little to separate.
Yeah, and you've got to love how they kind of pull clear the third horse there up the straight as well. It looks good form for the grade.
At least the three of us are being relatively original in this race anyway, rather than Sam and I opting for a couple of favourites so far down at Kempton. But yeah, it's going to be Gabario, who I actually thought Sam might be tipping up in this one.
So did I.
He's been one of the theme horses for Sam throughout the season. But Gabario, he may well be handicapped up to it by now. But I still just think last time out he wasn't quite at his best, so he's worth another chance in here for all he doesn't have a £7 claimer on his back. But again, we're going back to the trends for this race as well. So 9-year-olds favoured, a rating of 132 to 140 being optimal. 4 runs in the season is ideal. Finishing third last time out is another plus, and 3 weeks to 2 months is another positive. So Gabarrio ticking plenty of these boxes. A 9-year-old, probably, as I say, not really rated high enough actually to be winning this race, but third last time out in a Haydock handicap chase over 3 mile 4, which should have suited really, but he does stay well. He was third in the Grand Sefton at Aintree, come down £1 for last time out. As I say, doesn't have the £7 claim, so he is £6 worse off, but I just don't think we saw the best of him. He's been freshened up. Scoped wrong when he was due to run at Musselburgh at the start of the month as well. So if he runs, hopefully that's a good sign of his health. He's tuned, he's fit and firing, ready to go. Plenty of stamina at his disposal as well. So again, a decent enough price then for him for an each way play. I still would probably be taking that each way play then about Gabarrio in the Ida.
Bet Victor might be paying 4 places, so that helps.
Very much so, exactly. Nice to have you here as a stand-in for the Bet Victor, though, at this point. Oh, if not even more places as well, I'm just hearing.
There we go.
Yes, 5 places that Bet Victor are going there as
well.
well.
Mine is now definitely an each-way selection.
Yeah, I will definitely be utilising that and then some. Again, do let us know in the comment section below who you fancy for the Ida, or who you are going to be getting some of those extra places with Bet Victor, as well as Deck and I at least. We'll head over to the sofa to give you our Cheltenham Ante-Post selections as well as our best bets for the weekend. Now we're just 2.5 weeks away from the Cheltenham Festival, so it's high time we gave you another Ante-Post selection from the 3 of us. And Sam, we're going to be boosting these selections as well.
Yes, Kate. Something I wanted to add is we are non-runner, no bet. We've got every race up on site now. But our previous boosts have returned onto the weekend winners microsite, so you should see a few of the previous weeks on there. So if you've not already taken advantage of those, or you wanted to wait for non-runner, no bet, they're there with those revised prices. Right, I'm going to kick off this week, and I've decided I needed to find a bit of juice and a bit of a price. I put up a few favourites, haven't I? Both in this show and on our Ante-Post portfolios. But the Ultimate was the race I went to, mainly because I felt like there'd been quite a lot of news that impacted some of those at the front of the betting here this week. Highland isn't going to go to that race, runs on the weekend and hopefully wins, and then is going to head to the Grand National meeting. Then I flicked through and read that Alan King wasn't sure that his horse was going to run, who'd been towards the front of the betting here, and had an alternative suggestion that he could go somewhere else. So I started to pick my way through it. Lowry's Bar's another one that if he runs on the weekend, not sure we're seeing him at the festival. So I've ended up plumping for Johnny who I thought, going back through the runs of some of these horses, could just potentially have been a little bit involved in this kind of race. I thought was a bit of a whopping price, given we've got a few coming out. We're seeing him back at Newbury in November when he was third. The Duke Boxman, who seems to be a horse I've mentioned a lot already today, was the winner, and I think the second is certainly a fair horse. But he's then disappointed a little bit, I think it's fair to say, after that, running third at Ascot, and then the run at Windsor I can completely forgive. I'm determined to now suggest that Windsor is just going to end up being a specialist kind of track. And I just wondered if a mark of 140, others not going to the race, it just sort of might fall into his lap. And should just mention John Joe Neal's had a couple of winners in here over the years as well. Certainly knows how to line one up. And Irish horses have a horrendous record in here. And I think given the way the UK handicapper tends to react, I'd be struggling to make a play for any Irish horse in here. So ended up sort of by a process of elimination thinking that Johnny Who could be the one to be on. And Kate, I believe this is a very generous boost.
It is definitely so. 8 to 1 is now 10 to 1 then for Johnny Who in the Ultima as well. And as you say, it's kind of the one race that the British were still holding on to pretty strong as well. A horse that I thought was going to be really, really smart and special back in the day. You still have to be a smart and special horse to win the Ultima.
He started the season unreal at Carlisle. Looked like he might have even developed into a kind of graded chaser, but clearly not.
Good boost though, all the same. As I say, 8 to 1, 10 to 1. So make sure to head to the website or scan the QR code to take advantage of that boost. Deck, who are we boosting for you? Yeah,
well, it's great with that Sam mentioned about the boost, that they're non-runner money back. So, you know, that's obviously quite important if you're following any of us in here. I'm going to go to a handicap as well, but I'm going to go to the Grand Annual, that easy race with a tiny small field that's not competitive. But I'm hoping the Skeletons can go back to back and this year win it with Asta La Pasta. who's a horse that I just think is incredibly well handicapped off 133. This is his run at Newbury earlier in the season behind Caliph de Burley. This form is rock solid. The winner has gone on to win again since, and it's just really rock solid form now. This day, I thought he did well to get even as close as he did because he was held up. There was a big steadying of the pace before they got into the straight, and he was just way too far out of his ground to land the blow. So to even get this close, I thought was a massive run. Now after this run, then he went to Kempton over Christmas behind Leader in the Park, and he finished second. Again, just probably a little bit gassy, but again, that form is working out really well as well. And I just cannot believe that he's not well handicapped up 133. He's also bred to be much better than that mark as well. He's by Walk in the Park, and he's out of a mare called Asian Maze, who was a proper race mare. I think she won the entry hurdle once upon a time for the Tom Mullins team. So everything about this horse suggests he's better than his mark. Looks like he's crying out for a drop down to 2 miles because he's just been a little bit keen, a little bit gassy. I think he jumps well, but I just think kind of being a little bit more aggressive with him, if they can get some room, dropping down to 2 miles, ride him prominently, he might take a little bit of catching in the Grand Annual if he runs. If he doesn't, you'll get your money back.
Yeah, exactly. More to the point then. And we were just discussing before we went into this section about that pedigree as well, weren't we? And the fact that Asian Maze won the Sefton in 2005, came back in trip then to win the entry hurdle. So the drop back in trip certainly didn't inconvenience her. Well,
hopefully it's going to be a case of like mother, like son.
Yeah, exactly that then. And this is the boost that I almost attributed to Johnny, who accidentally then, Ante-Post was 16-1 for the Grand Annual, is now 22-1.
That is big. If the Skeltons fancy him, he could go off 8.
Yeah, and at 22-1 now in that boost as
well.
Yeah,
and that will do. I might be darting off as soon as the show's over here.
You've lured me in there as well with Ante-Post, and especially with them with that boost as well. Again, do head to the website to take advantage of that. Now, for me, we are boosting 6.5. I'm being far less original than the two lads here. To be honest, I thought I was being relatively original because I thought, well, at least I'm taking on Maureen at the head of the market in the Mares Novices Hurdle. Then I looked last night, and the betting had somewhat drifted on Maureen, and 6.5 had been backed into pretty much favouritism then overnight. So I thought, OK, great, I've jinxed this with a lack of originality as well. But yeah, 6.5 though. To start with, I thought, OK, I might have a bit of a concern over a lack of experience because that was one of the stones I was throwing at Maureen's chances in here. She just had the 2 starts, a bumper win, a hurdle win. She may well be good enough to go and win this despite a lack of experience herself. And if she does, then so be it about Maureen. Now, you can say that about 6.5. She's just got that 1 hurdle success to her name. But, of course, she's got all of that experience previously from the bumper sphere, from the flat sphere as well then. So 6 starts on the flat, 2 bumper runs. She's won 4 of her 9 career starts. So I'm hoping that's going to counteract the lack of hurdling experience as it was. And I just thought it was interesting that Gavin Cromwell, who, as we've all been saying, is having a fantastic season, cited her as his best chance already of the week as well. And so I have to go with what the trainer's saying in that sense, and I'm more than happy to row in with 6.5, who was 5-2, now 3-1 then on the boost for 6.5 there. So in the
thank your lucky stars that you got to pick her this week, because I nearly put her up last week.
Yeah, when you just
she was high on the short list.
Nabbed her, yeah. You and Medino Blue.
That's it, yeah. So there you go, double penalty now for the viewers.
Yeah, exactly.
We do apologise, Gavin and Keith.
Isn't it just exactly that? But yeah, again, the boost so on the website there, so make sure to take advantage of that. Right, far more immediately, our best bets for this weekend. So Dec, do you want to kick us off?
Yes, going to go to Kempton for the nap this week in a race that we haven't discussed. Horse running in the Dovecot called Miami Magic for the Stuart Edmonds team. I think Stuart is on record as saying this is one of the nicest horses he's ever had. And I really like what this lad did at Kempton earlier in the season. Just looked like a horse who was an out-and-out 2-miler. Jumps well, got loads of pace. You know, I think he's going to be even better on this nicer ground. Ran a cracker behind the Potter's horse of the Twiston Davis, Potter's Charm and the Formby at Aintree. And I think that ground was probably soft enough for him on the day, but he ran really well. If he can get out in front and, you know, get his jumping right and get into a good rhythm, I think he might take a little bit of pegging back around here, especially as he doesn't have to carry a penalty. The next best then is also going to be at Kempton. This is a horse that we've already discussed in Boom Born. I just think there's plenty of juice in his price at the moment in a race that will set up nicely for him. He does have to carry the penalty, but if Rubon doesn't stay, I don't think he's got that much to find with the the Philip Hobbs and Johnson White horse, so he looks overpriced for me for a top team at a track he loves. And then also at Kempton is going to be the long shot. It's going to be Unanswered Prayers, who is a big price for a horse who's got plenty of form around Kempton and has been in good order this season. Now, he did unseat last time out, but maybe we're getting a bigger price because of that. But, you know, Freddie Gordon's taken another £3 off his back. It's an open race. I could easily see him slipping into the 3 or the 4, and who knows, if he gets plenty of luck, he might even win it.
Nicely done there for those three. Best of luck to you. Sam, your own best bets for this weekend?
Yeah, going to spread them around a little bit here. We haven't touched on Southwell, but it is, of course, the Winter Derby this weekend. Looking forward to that. I'm sure Deck will tell you it's live on Sky Sports Racing. I'm quite looking forward to seeing how Royal Champion goes here. A winner of the Quebec Stakes last time out. He's one of the oldest in the field here. A couple of 4-year-olds that are more unexposed than him. But since joining Carl Burke's team, he's been an interesting horse on the all-weather. That win, the form's been boosted by the very good-looking second Tyrrhenian Sea, the best-looking horse you'll see. He's gone on and won since when dropping in trip. But Royal Champion for me does certainly look a cut above the rest here and will be nap-worthy material this weekend. My next best, I'm going to go to Kempton, where we've already touched on the selection, which will be Paul Nichols to get yet another win for me in the Pendle with Ruband. I just think this is really good placement from the horse, for the horse, I should say. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he goes. The trip, as we've spoken about, is a question mark, but I think if you're going to get away with it anywhere, it should be Kempton, and I think the opposition, to be frank, aren't up to too much. And then my long shot, we're going to go back up to Newcastle. Really intriguing contest, isn't it, the Ida? You can make a case for so many, but I am definitely keen on John McConnell's horse at Bodjashifova, who I really can't wait to see here. Alex Harvey takes 5 off. I think the second at Musselburgh can go one better from that, having been left on an unchanged mark. It's certainly competitive, certainly a hot heat. Looking forward to seeing how he goes, but I thought an each-way play there. Best of luck for all the punters at home having a bet this weekend.
Definitely so. I really like one of your selections in there, your next best, who is going to be my nap.
Very good.
This is going to be Rubod then in the Pendle Novices Chasers. The class act of the field then in here, and it was so good to see him getting back on track last time out after his fall on Chase Savvy, but much better last time out, giving the 1-5 favourite Loadasad a bit of a fright, closing him down in good style in the finish. So I'm expecting the step up in trip to see him to even better effect now. Now, another horse I mentioned earlier on, Highland, in the Ladbrokes Trophy Premier Handicap Chase. And I know he is the class act in the field again, along with Lowry's Bar in here, but whether or not Lowry's Bar runs remains to be seen. But I am just fascinated to see these two novices going at it in this contest. Highland is getting the £1 from Lowry's Bar, and I just hope that he's got enough pace to be living with a few of these in here. But this race, they do tend to go a bit of a gallop, as we were saying earlier on deck, which this lad, he does like to be ridden up with the pace. And if he's not able to lay up with them, though, then I'm not put off, because he's a very adaptable horse. Stamina to spare, so hopefully he'll still be powering on in the finish. And the long shot is going to be another horse I spoke about earlier on. It's going to be Gabario in the Ida. Perhaps he is a bit high in the handicap now, doesn't have the £7 claim off his back, but we know he stays all day, should give you a run for your money, and has been freshened up after last time out to be able to show his better form. And I still think that there is some mileage left in this mark of 127 anyway. So Gabario at 14-1 is going to be the one for me. But that is everything from us then on this week's show. So lads, big thank you so much for all of your time, efforts, hard work, and of course your lovely, lovely words at the top of the show as well about Michael O'Sullivan. Thank you so much for watching, and we will be back at the same time next Friday to preview the best of the weekend action.